Welcome back, everyone.
For a Time Like This podcast.
I'm Natalie.
And I'm Ashley. And we're your hosts.
So today I'm just going to say this. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for talking to us.
For the comments, the texts. We really
appreciate
DMs
it. Through Instagram. Thank you, guys. It means a lot that you're just watching and you're subscribed.
Yes.
We're really happy.
Yes, we're still like, every time we get a new one, we're like, yay.
Yes.
Did you read this comment? And we're back and forth like,
Yes.
Somebody said this to me and vice versa.
Yeah. So anyway, in today's podcast, we wanted to talk about
modesty. And so we were thinking about it and we wanted to talk about our experience with it. Mm-hmm. And so to start off, we wanted to talk about, like, if you're not Pentecostal, you may not realize kind of some of the general standards that are across the board. Mm-hmm. Now, each church have their own standards, but
yes.
These are some of the things that was pretty consistent across everyone.
Yeah. Now, we are Pentecostal, Apostolic Pentecostal, and we kind of wanted, like Ashley said, we wanted to talk about our experience as teens growing up with modesty and as in now, like too.
So for those who are not very familiar with Pentecostals, usually when you see a Pentecostal person, they're gonna have a skirt on that's at least to the knee.
Yeah.
They're typically not gonna have on any makeup.
Right.
We're gonna have our hair uncut. So usually not trimmed, nothing. Our hair's just natural uncut hair. Our tops are usually covers our shoulders.
Yeah.
Like your modest, and the neckline is not going to be showing any cleavage or any part of your body this direction. And then no jewelry. Now some do wear wedding bands.
Yeah.
But that's about the extent. So we're not wearing jewelry. So that's pretty much standard across the board.
We're one that don't wear jewelry.
Yeah, we don't wear any. We don't wear wedding bands. We're both married, but we don't wear bands.
Yeah.
We would just want to go ahead and jump in and talk about what it was like for us as teenagers.
Yeah. And up till now. Mm-hmm. For me, I got my notes, guys.
And an iPad. She's real fancy this week.
For me, I know modesty means different for everybody. Like, it's different for everyone.
Your definition of modesty is a little bit different than ours and vice versa.
Right. So for me, as a teenager, I grew up differently. And for me, as far as dressing and modest, it was when I was about 14, maybe 15, maybe 13, around there. And it really was just, skirts, shirts, and just, I don't know, going from wearing pants and shorts and all that stuff that, it's not really modest. Mm-hmm. To us anyway, it took a while to get used to just wearing skirts and shirts and stuff. So growing up, that's what I would wear, but I would also be made fun of as far as, in school.
Did you go to public school?
Yes, I did go to public school. So that was a struggle as I was a teen too. So, you have to find that place where you want God to use you in that modesty, though. Modesty came to me, I was wearing skirts and stuff, made fun in school, but...
Did you choose to dress modest, or was it like, this is how we're going to dress in this home?
Yeah, so when I was in this home, it was a go to church, skirts, dresses and all that stuff, so it was already there when I got in there. So that's what I was wearing. Growing up was a little bit challenging as far as modest, going to school and all that stuff. So, I did there for a little bit, used to sneak pants and shorts and all that stuff. I'm telling on myself. But this was right when I was living in a group home, I guess you could say. I was still getting made fun of, and that feeling at 13, 14 years old, you're like, I don't really want to get made fun of, but I would sneak some stuff here and there. So even at PE, they would ask me, why do you have to wear that? Why do you do that? And for me, as a 13, 14 that didn't know about modesty and standards and just being diving into it. I would sneak stuff, but then I really just got in this home, and this is what it was. So I didn't realize what the Bible spoke about, what things on there, like what people believed about it, why it was this, why it was that. As I gotten older, the church that I was going, they did, wear some jewelry. They did wear, they were able to cut some of their hair, and they were able to paint their nails. So like for me, it was a little different because it was just skirts and dresses. Right. So it didn't click with me. It was just the only thing that really just changed was the skirts and dresses. Eventually, I moved, and as I got older, as a teenager, I really got a hold of what modesty was and stuff. As an older teenager, I really grasped onto that and really just kind of believed it with my whole heart, But in all that to say, when I still had some challenges, as a teenager, dressing modesty, because I still was going. Then I was actually going to a Christian school, but some of our friends were not. They were Christians, but they weren't like modesty. They weren't,
They were in the school.
Yeah, they were in the school,
okay.
but like they weren't dressed modestly. Right. Like they wore their pants and stuff. So, and I got asked why, and I'd show them that verse. But anyway, but yeah, so I had a little challenges here and there as far as wearing modesty and all that stuff too.
So my teenage years were kind of similar. So I grew up in a home where we were Pentecostal from like birth. So, but at the time when I was 14, we stopped attending the church that we went to, and that church we wore skirts to our knees. We could wear t-shirts. But that was about it. Like a lot of the other stuff was similar to what we do now. I was still like my parents still believed in the same standards, but I wasn't going to a church.
Okay.
So I was still wearing the dresses and everything, but I wasn't attending church at all. So that was really hard. And like at that age, if you knew me as a teenager, you don't know me. I struggled a lot as a teenager.
I feel like you do when you're a teenager.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. And so I went to public school as well. So I would always be asked like, "Hey, why are you wearing a skirt? Why are you doing that? What are all those questions?" And I didn't really have it in my heart. Like like, "Oh yeah, my parents make me." So that was my mindset because even though I knew the truth, like I knew this was the right way to dress. I knew this was how. That's how I knew it, but in my heart, I didn't really want it. Right. If that makes sense. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I just do it because my parents make me. Sure. But I never, I didn't do like Natalie. I didn't have any access to anything, and I was always scared of my mom. But like, it was nice. She was
not a sneaker.
No, I did a lot of other things, but that was not one of them. But yeah, it was very difficult because it wasn't like I had a group of like church members or even those friends that were there like, oh yeah, we're in this together. Right. And actually until my sophomore year of high school, I was the only Pentecostal in my grade. Okay, wow. So there was others like in the school, I guess, but nobody in my grade. So every year was the same questions. Like you get a new class, and everybody's like, "Why are you dressed like that?" Yeah. And then I finally got a friend that wore a skirt, and we were like, we've been best friends since then.
I mean, you know the feeling though. I mean, if anybody knows that feeling, I know that feeling. Like if you know that feeling, just be grateful because I feel like that's gonna help you, like be friends with them. Yes. If you can.
Biggest struggle I had was that I was not my heart. I did not want to dress like that. Really, I seen all these girls dressed differently. And another thing at the time, I feel like modest boutiques and stuff like that right now that we have are such a blessing because we didn't have that at that time. Yeah. So we just had to go to the store, had to search around for like the skirts, and whatever skirt was out there, that's what you're like, well, I have to have a skirt. We just kind of had a dress with whatever happened to be available at that time. It's not like I could just go online and shop for something. And so that was another struggle because I was like, I didn't have my own style to kind of do. It was like whatever just happened to be the style at the time. And we would make our own jean skirts a lot of times at that point. which, I mean, they were cute enough, but like that was one of my biggest struggles because I didn't have it in my heart, and I had no real desire to dress that way, to be that way. And so that was a hard thing. So if you do have a church family that supports you, that, I mean, you're blessed.
You're
truly
blessed for sure.
And so after my teenage years, once I was out of my own home, even though I grew up dressing that way and no one watched right everything, I chose to dress very immodest and whatever I wanted to dress in, pants, shorts, whatever. After that point,
were you going to church or
no? After that point, see, I hadn't. At 14, we left, and then we didn't attend any church regularly until I was like 24. So like my 20s is whenever I just went completely away from everything because it just wasn't in my heart at that, at that age. But at the time, like talking to people later in life, like at that time, I actually stood out in a good way. Like people, even though it wasn't in my heart and I was still dressing that way and that was kind of a struggle, they was like, oh, I remember you in school. You was always so nice and you always dress so modest and well and all this thing. So like to me, I felt like, oh, I'm such an oddball and I look so weird. But to others, they were seeing that as like a light. But to maybe a teenager now, my advice would be like, you do look different, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I hope you grasp it in your heart. And if you don't understand, I hope you ask somebody, your mom, your dad, anybody, your pastor.
And pray about it. Just be like, Lord, can you help me understand why I need to dress this way? And how can I feel beautiful? And because teenage years are hard to start with.
They are hard, especially if you're going to public school and you're like the only one that's wearing modesty, and it's hard. It really is.
But there are people that are doing it. Like my sister, she did it. She lived right all through high school, through her school years. Even though I struggled and it wasn't in my heart, it was in hers. And she still went through school. She still stood by her standards and did right. So I mean, other people are out there doing it too. You're not alone. And if you do feel like you're struggling a little bit, know that is normal. That's you're not wrong. You're not backsliding if you're saying I'm having a hard time feeling this way. We understand. We was there. We've been there.
Yeah. You're human. You struggle. Yes. Ashley, I really can't remember. I think I was in my late teens when I really grasped it in my heart with that. Because I feel like when I was I went to different churches that taught differently, and our pastor was teaching one day, and it was about modesty. And one thing that really I got a hold of that was really good is that not only are you representing yourself and towards God, but you're also, people are looking at you, and not also just people, and not just your husband, but other guys, other people. And what I feel like he mentioned was, if he sees you in the wrong way, you're making him think of a bad thought that shouldn't have been there in the first place because you're wearing that clothing. So like tight clothes, you might show some underwear or something. I don't know,
Right.
Like what I'm saying is, you could make a guy or, so you can make him think of something not nice of you, or
it's more than just like, oh, I've got a dress for a man. It's like, do you really want a man looking at you and thinking those thoughts?
In a bad way, or do you want them to look at you in a good way?
Yeah, right. So like, it's not, I'm dressing to, like, I know the culture right now is saying like, my body, my choice. I'll do whatever I want. I'll dress however I want. And what you look at is your fault for thinking that. But do you want someone to look at you and think vile thoughts about you? You're respecting
you gotta respect
yourself.
Yeah. So like I feel like that's one thing that really grasped a hold of me. And I kind of made sure that like my clothes wasn't too tight, and my skirt was down below my knees, because I feel like if you have it above your knees, you're still going to be kind of seeing it,
Right.
But just I just got a hold of that part, and I'm like, I don't want anybody to be thinking bad thoughts about me because of what I'm wearing if it's not modest, you know.
Right.
So,
That's a good thought. At our current church, our standards are we wear our skirts long enough below our knees that when we sit down, our knees are still covered.
yeah.
Very well.
You know, we don't cut our hair, we don't wear makeup, we don't wear jewelry.
We have our elbows covered.
Yeah.
So our elbows are
shirts
covered.
in our home church, we do modesty. We wear our, you know, skirts and our shirts modestly, and we don't wear any jewelry, don't cut our hair, don't wear makeup.
We try not to wear shoes that are going to be
Too gaudy.
yeah,
kinda
like you're not going to be like she can't even walk in those shoes.
Right.
I think I see, you know, like like we try to keep everything modest. Even our
Modest,
shoes,
right,
like we're not
yeah.
wanting to look
Yeah.
or even walk in a way that, like, if your heel's so high.
Yeah, well, I actually have a story
Go
about
ahead.
this high heel stuff, because when I first got married, my heels was at least 4 inches, and that I just had liked heels. I've never thought about how heels would like represent you, I guess, in a way. Our pastor preaching about our heels and why, and you know how we do things, and I was like, okay. So, you know, I said, okay, you know, I got rid of my shoes, changed my heels and all that stuff. And looking back now, I'm glad I did, because, you know, I am obeying our pastor, but I also think that the message that he preached on, or the teaching that he taught on about the heels being high, was one of those that I was just like, probably should, you know, look back and be like, yeah, I probably should change that. But
Did you, speaking of our current standards, did you have any struggles
Like
with it coming into, like, you was like, oh, I'm struggling so much with this?
Well, honestly, I didn't know about the heels, so the heels was one. I'm going to tell on myself, but the heels were one. Like, I really didn't see a problem with it, but I didn't struggle, but I was just like, oh man, I have to buy all new shoes, you know. But yeah, I think that the shoes was it, because I think in our old church we did, our standards were about the same, so.
Whenever I first started coming, at the time, I didn't struggle with it. Like, it wasn't a struggle, but my idea, like, I thought I looked very modest in my head, but looking
Right.
at previous pictures, I'm like, oh my word. But it was not, it's like, we have such a kind and loving pastor that
Yes,
he is
yeah.
never going to, if you walked into our church in the biggest heels that you ever wore, you have pants on, you, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, you can walk, and he's not going to be like,
Yeah.
no, you have to
You
dress
cannot enter
straight.
here, yeah.
He
Oh.
wants to teach your heart and get your heart right.
Yes.
And then he's like, you'll change. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. He never
yes.
told me, like, sister, you look terrible. Go change your clothes.
Right, right.
I just gradually come, and then I just felt like, okay, maybe that top's a little bit lower than what I need to be
Right.
wearing. And I would just change it, you know, and I just gradually, and even when he's preached, like the heels, because he was taught on that more recent, like,
Yeah.
he wasn't saying, y'all go home, throw away every shoe that you own. He
Right.
says, from this point forward, I would like for you all to change, you know, like, I just want your heels to be a certain height. And if
To
you
be modest, to wear them modestly.
and he's like, from this point on, so if you still had that and that's all you had, I mean, it's okay, but the next shoe you buy, go ahead and buy it in a lower heel. And so,
Yeah.
like, he's very kind and loving.
And like Ashley said, he does want you to grasp it in your heart, because I feel like that's what first comes, and then it's your outwardly where you change, you know.
Right.
So that's basically what happened with me as far as the heels
Me
go.
too.
So
And every aspect, it's just like, it was just a gradual change. And like, as I look back, I'm like, oh wow, I thought I was modest and I thought I was living in all that stuff, but it's like, it's a slow, gradual process.
yeah,
And
yeah,
thank the Lord that he's been merciful to us, and it's
Right.
like, okay, you can, you know, I'll show you, and I'll lead you.
Yeah.
And I'll make it okay in your heart. Like, I have absolutely no problem going to Walmart in my modest outfits.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's crazy. the more I go out in public, the less I want to look like that. I'm like,
Yeah. Yes.
oh my
Especially
word.
nowadays. Oh
Yeah,
my
I'm like,
goodness.
I want you to look at me and think I look weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I do not want you to think, wow,
You need
she
more
looks
clothes
the
on.
same as me.
Yeah.
Like, no,
No.
I'm good to be unique and
Yes.
peculiar people.
I honestly, I was writing my thoughts down, and what went through my head was a podcast. I'm gonna just jump in here, Ashley, because I've been listening to the Unshamedly You podcast, and she talks about living your life unashamedly for God. Like, you're this, live it out unashamedly for God. Like, this is you. Love it. Hold on to it. And I really that just really went through as I was writing my thoughts on modesty. That's what went through my head. So in that note, we kind of wanted to talk about some of our favorite modest apparels. So if you're just now starting and have no clue where to start, we're gonna give you some boutiques, some shops that you can go to, some boutiques that had become our favorite. And for those out there that don't know or have no clue, have just started out of church where they are doing this kind of standards, this is for you. If you're struggling to find a place where you could buy skirts, tops, dresses, this is for you.
So starting off, I mean, this is pretty well known. Is for especially, well, they have both now. Danny Jewels for church outfits, for casual. That's a go-to for a lot of people.
I had Nuggles on my notes. Nuggles was one of them. It's pretty good. It's got lots of dresses, matching mommies and, mommies and me's. So any of you that want mommies and me dresses, go to Nuggles.
I actually find a lot of the dresses on, just casual ones. Like this one I'm wearing. I got this on Walmart.com.
Okay.
I get some on Amazon. So those are two places that you can just kind of
find casual.
Yeah, you can just type in what you're looking for and they'll usually pull up.
Another one that I had was, of course, my mom. She has a boutique. It's Maddie June Boutique. She doesn't do a whole lot online right now, but if you're on Facebook, go follow her on Maddie June Boutique so you can go and do the pop-ups that she's doing. She's doing pop-ups, setting up at places, different churches. So if you're at that church, she'll have what you want.
Skirted Fancy has
Fancy is one.
A lot of skirts. Skirt Society.
Yes. This KK Boutique has a bit of both, kids skirts and dresses.
Camp Clo. I think I'm saying that correctly. They have a lot of the casual. They have the active wear. They have swimwear.
I'm fixing to get 2 of those for this summer. Carver & Co. Boutique. There's Hannah Gabrielle, if I'm saying that, Boutique. We'll probably link some of those on here so that way you guys can just go look, I guess.
Yeah.
Or just name them on there so you guys can go find them on Instagram.
But those are just some of the places that we like to shop. There's more out there. And if we think of any more, we'll go ahead and list it below.
Yeah.
But that's just somewhere, if you're saying, hey, I want to dress a little bit more modest. It's a good place to start.
There's tons out there. Really, there's a lot of them now. Not back then when we were teenagers.
Not when we were teenagers. They was not that cute. Or they was cute stuff, but it was not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have the options that you do now.
So on that note, I kind of want to leave you guys with a Bible verse, and it's 1 Timothy 2:9. In like manner also that the women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broader hair, gold, or pearls, or costly array. And I feel like a lot of that is what our standards is. And I really wanted you guys to have that verse just to kind of see on where some of the Bible says about modesty and apparel for women and such. So we want to thank everyone for listening, for joining in, and
supporting
our podcast. If you like stuff like this, please DM us, comment, like, for
Share
more.
it with someone that you think would
Yes.
know. And we have so many new exciting things coming up
Yes.
that we just want you all to stay tuned. So that's all our time for today. So we will see you next time.